and Dr. P. Krishnaraju for giving me this opportunity to share my views on diastolic heart disease. I prefer the term diastolic heart disease because apart from giving the information about the diastolic function of the heart, diastolic flow patterns gives us excellent information regarding the filling pressures of LV and LE in systolic heart failure also. That is why I prefer the term diastolic heart disease. Of course, literature says that we have to use the term heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, but a broad term will be diastolic heart failure. As all of you know, for any disease, it is a spectrum from asymptomatic Doppler abnormalities to a frank heart failure. And also, see, the first symptom of diastolic heart disease is exertional dyspnea. Many people complain of exertional dyspnea. We don't know what is the cause. There are a number of clinical conditions that produce exertional dyspnea, like deconditioning, COPD, several lung conditions, anemia, systemic diseases. So, when we are interpreting the diastolic flow abnormalities, one has to keep it in mind, the clinical situation. That is very important. So, the diastolic function of the heart is an interaction between atrium and ventricle. As initially in the younger age group and in patients who doesn't have any disease, in normal heart, the left ventricle nicely contracts receiving the blood, so left atrium has very little function to do. It just possibly empties its contents into the left ventricle. But as we age, the left ventricle becomes stiff, and also the compliance decreases, the relaxation is impaired. So the atrium has to contract more to fill up the ventricle. In that process, slowly atrial dysfunction starts. So diastolic dysfunction is basically, we can call it as an atrial dysfunction. So it is an atrial ventricular relaxation, interaction between these two producing atrial dysfunction. In the course of time, atria dilates and it becomes the harbinger of atrial fibrillation. So always measure the left atrial dimension and also try to measure the left atrial volume by Simpson's rule, so that we can detect some of the patients who are likely to land up in atrial fibrillation. Some of the patients who have left atrial dilatation may be throwing intermittently atrial fibrillation. So one has to be very careful in evaluating atrial size. So I will be discussing this I don't know whether time permits me all this. First I will tell you briefly about phases of diastole, what are the modalities and normal flows and stages of dysfunction, what are annular velocities, mitral annular velocities, and I will show you one clinical example. If we recollect from our physiology, the rapid filling phase, after isovolemic relaxation, rapid filling phase, slow filling phase, then with atrial contraction, this is the phases of diastole. See, the modalities to identify the diastolic flow abnormality, we have three modalities. Earlier, invasive procedure was but it needs a catheter tip manometer and sophisticated instruments. And also they are not foolproof. In the best labs also, there are some errors. But echo Doppler gives us an excellent information regarding the diastolic flow abnormalities and filling pressures of the LA and LV. There are three modalities, as all of you know: mitral flows, tissue Doppler imaging, otherwise known as tissue annular velocities, and pulmonary venous flows. At the tip of the mitral wall, if you record, you have a rapid filling phase, slow filling phase, and atrial contraction. All the three phases can be seen clearly after isovolemic relaxation. See, annular velocity is a mirror image of mitral flows because annulus moves in the opposite direction, but it is a triphasic. Even systolic flow velocities also can be seen. Earlier, diastolic velocity is the most important parameter for measuring diastolic dysfunction. It is named as E dash, EM, EA, several names are given, but I prefer E dash. So I will be mentioning about E dash. Pulmonary venous flow velocities. In a routine echocardiogram, because pulmonary vein is very far off from our interrogation line, sometimes we face difficulties, but we can get it. So pulmonary venous velocities are again triphasic, but the difference is, see, there is a systolic forward flow. There are one systolic forward flow, one diastolic forward flow, and then atrial reversal. So these are the various abnormalities, all of you know. We have to better express them as patterns instead of telling grade 1 diastolic dysfunction, because these patterns also occur, as I told you, in systolic dysfunction also. and they give us excellent information regarding the filling capacities, filling pressures of the left atrium and left ventricle. So mitral flow, if you regard from the tips of the mitral leaflet, you can see these are the flows. Normal flow EA ratio is between 0.75 to 1.5. Impaired relaxation, deceleration time is decreased. EA ratio is less than 0.7.5. Then pseudo-normal pattern. This is the most difficult part. Many times a hypertensive comes to you above after 650 SEA and you note down as a normal mitral flows, but it will be pseudo-normal flow. So be careful. We have to use tissue Doppler imaging or annular velocities and pulmonary venous flows and restrictive filling. In this restrictive filling, left atrial pressures are very much elevated. So the moment mitral valve opens, all the blood gushes into the left ventricle and there will be rapid deceleration flow and atrial dysfunction starts. So atrium is unable to generate enough pressure. So A wave becomes decreased. So EA ratio becomes more than 1.5 or sometimes more than 2. So we have to express this as the patterns. Impaired relaxation pattern, pseudo-normal pattern or restrictive filling pattern. This is an example of normal filling patterns. E and A are normal. EA ratio is between 0.75 to 1.5 and normal E wave. E wave is higher than, E dash is bigger than E wave. Impaired relaxation pattern. This patient is a known diabetic, came with exertional dyspnea and normal LV function. There is no hypertrophy, but if you record the mitral flows and tissue Doppler anomalies, mitral flows are normal. This is a pseudo-normal filling. Mitral flows, if you see, they are normal. But if you see the annular velocities, EA ratio is altered. A dash is more than E, suggestive of pseudo-normal. And this is an example of restrictive filling. Tall E wave and followed by a small dwarfed A wave. So EA ratio is more than 2. Suggestive of restrictive filling. Restrictive filling pattern has a very bad prognosis. If a patient is seen with restrictive filling pattern, always be guarded on his prognosis. The prognosis is as bad as untreated malignancy. Survival curves. So this is an animation which shows when using normal contraction, normal relaxation phase of the ventricle relaxes nicely, receives all the blood from the left atrium, and left atrium has little work to do. It possibly fills the left ventricle, but when patient has a diastolic dysfunction, left atrium has to work more and has to push blood into the left ventricle by pressure. So in course of time, left atrial pressures goes on increasing until left atrial pressures reaches restrictive pattern and patient may manifest with heart failure. So this is a summary of all the modalities, mitral flows. This is the annular velocities, pulmonary venous flows. As I told you, pulmonary venous flows, there will be a systolic flow and diastolic flow on the same side, and systolic flow is more than diastolic flow, and there will be a normal atrial reversal. When diastolic dysfunction sets in, atrial reversal not only becomes prominent, but also duration also increases. And E by A ratio. Earlier we have calculated one of the E by A ratio. In that E by A ratio is 100. E is 100 and A is around 4. So we have got the ratio of 25. So there is very good correlation between coronary capillary pressures and E by A ratio. The dotted lines indicates impaired relaxation pattern. The open circles indicates pseudo-normal filling and restrictive filling. And when the E by A ratio, E by E dash, that means E is mitral flow, EA is annular velocities. The ratio, if it is more than 15, it correlates very well with pulmonary capillary pressures are more than 20. So the prognosis. See, normal, impaired relaxation, pseudo-normal pattern, restrictive filling. Restrictive filling has the worst prognosis. If the prognosis is as bad as I told you, and she responded to treatment very well. So this is a flow chart. Though it is a little confusing, but see, there are only, we have to record the mitral flows and followed by annular velocities, followed by pulmonary venous flow velocities. Mitral flow velocities, impaired relaxation, pseudo-normal pattern, restrictive filling. I want to say only one word in restrictive filling. In restrictive filling, though E is very tall, A is very small, so it is restrictive filling. So it may be a constrictive pericarditis or restrictive filling because of myocardial disease or a constrictive pericarditis. But paradoxically in constrictive pericarditis, EAA is less. So this is a inverse relation. More EAA, E by A, more pulmonary capillary pressure. But in constrictive pericarditis is opposite. That is why it is called annular paradoxus. So guidelines. What are the guidelines? Any treatment aspects. So according to guidelines, treat systolic and diastolic. This is the best way to treat a diastolic dysfunction and prevention of diastolic dysfunction. Control of heart rate in atrial fibrillation. And diuretics, these are class 1 indications. But level of evidence is only A in treatment of hypertension, but all other level of evidence is only C. And class 2A indication is if patient has a demonstrable ischemia or patient has an angina, revasculation is the best way to treat diastolic dysfunction. And class 2B, the level of not well established is restoration of sinus rhythm. Don't try to bring go on increasing the medication to try to get the sinus rhythm because toxicity of the drugs will become more. So at least control the heart rate first. If possible, bring back to the sinus rhythm. And the role of beta blockers and ACE inhibitors are to be only to they minimize the heart failure symptoms. That's all. They don't have shown any mortality benefit or hospitalization benefit. And the role of digoxin is very, very controversial in diastolic dysfunction. So to conclude, my dear friends, diastolic heart failure is a spectrum. The mitral flows and tissue Doppler imaging are the best methods. Prognosis depends upon the stage of the diastolic heart disease. And their diastolic abnormalities are more common: hypertension, diabetes, CAD, and angina. Abnormal diastolic flow patterns occur in systolic dysfunction as well, and they give us excellent information regarding the filling pressures. The first line of treatment already I told you. Diuretics helps only in relieving the congestion. And thank you for your patient listening.